Hello and welcome to my review of Halloween 2018. So this film, Halloween, is the sequel to the film Halloween. So we go from Halloween to Halloween. That's not confusing. So my history with the Halloween series, very briefly, is I've seen the first one. That's it. Haven't seen Halloween 2. Haven't seen Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Haven't seen Halloween 4, 5, 6, The Return, The Death, The Resurrection of Michael Myers, H2O, all that stuff wrapped up in a nice little bow, and then the Rob Zombie films at the end. I haven't seen any of them. So yeah, this new Halloween from David Gordon Green, who's a director I like quite a bit, for his comedic stuff and his non-comedic stuff. I think Prince Avalanche is a very good film from a few years ago that not a lot of people seem to have seen, with Paul Rudd and, oh, what's his name? I've forgotten his name already. He was in that film Into the Wild. Mind has completely lost that name. But anyway, it's a very good film. And co-written by Danny McBride, who's one of my favorite comedic actors. Interesting that he was a writer on the film. And I can feel his influence in some of those scenes, actually. But for all intents and purposes, Halloween 2018 is a sequel to Halloween 1978. So for me, it was kind of perfect because I haven't seen any of the sequels that this one is kind of disposing of. This is a Ret-con-quel, you know. So I went in with fairly low expectations. People are raving about it, and I can see why. You know, if this is like, in a sense, it's kind of a half comparison, but I feel like this could be like what The Force Awakens was to Star Wars fans, to Michael Myers / Halloween fans, because you have a film that they love from 40 years ago that's now back with the same cast, or at least, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis and the guy who played Michael Myers. Although Jamie Lee Curtis came back a few times, you know, after the 20-year anniversary and so on. But still, you have this kind of 40-year-old franchise and now another film added to the story and the continuity, even if it is kind of disregarding everything else that came before it. So we continue to follow, well, we don't really follow Laurie Strode. We discover Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and how she's living in isolation. She's ready for Michael to come back, even though he's been in jail for 40 years, and how her family have shunned her, you know, her kind of, well, at least her daughter, played by the great Judy Greer, who was okay in the film. Expected a little bit more from her, but at the same time, her character is a very kind of one-note character for the most part, where she's just kind of disregarding her mother as crazy. And how, but I liked how they delved into her childhood a little bit, how she was taught to fire guns and stuff and be ready for the boogeyman to come back, basically. And then we have Laurie's granddaughter, who is more supportive of her grandmother. I liked her a lot, and I liked kind of the relationship that she had with her grandmother. And it's not shown too much, but I liked how it was shown throughout the film. And we have some journalists who are coming to try and get something out of Michael Myers. That opening is a very good opening. In the trailer, I thought it was a bit over the top, like the fact that he's bringing the mask out. Just thought that was a very stupid thing to do, but once you see the film, you see the context of that, and you see that this journalist is very much obsessed with getting this story. I loved how they kind of mentioned they had a podcast, which kind of very much ties in with the whole kind of serial podcast that came out a few years ago, and that kind of intrigue now that is spread over to people podcasting about these serial killers and murders and things, so it felt kind of true to the modern world without really forcing the issue too much. You know, it wasn't like that they kept showing them recording the podcast or anything. It was just a nice little mention that kind of tied it in a realistic way to the real world. As I said, Jamie Lee Curtis is great. She really conveys someone who has a real solid kind of sense of confidence about her when it comes to defending herself, but also shows that sensitive side where she is, you know, really on the verge of breaking down at any given moment. You know, she's trying to be strong, but it's tough at the same time to do that. And it's taken a toll on her to basically have sacrificed her life for, you know, being obsessed over this inevitability in her mind that Michael Myers would come back and come after her. I believe in the sequels it was revealed that she's his sister, which is why he's always going after her. And in this film, they're like, oh, wasn't he a brother? And the granddaughter's like, oh, no, that's just something they made up to, you know. I like that. That's kind of funny. So even though I'm not a big Halloween fan or know the series all that well, I kind of got some of the references. I love the part where Laurie gets knocked off the balcony, spoilers, and she's on the floor, much like Michael was at the end of the first film. He looks away, he looks back, and that music hits, and she's gone. Love that. Such a great little role reversal there. And then we kind of have her stalking through the house to try and find him. Well, that was before, actually. But, you know, some really good tension-filled scenes. The bathroom scene was a standout. Some of the gory deaths, I think, are going to really appeal to people who love that stuff. I'm not too fussed on it either way, but it's cool to see kind of more practical gore, at least. That was well done. Few things I didn't like, you know, again, spoilers here if you haven't seen it. at the end when the father of Laurie's granddaughter gets killed by Michael, and then he gets found in the closet at the end, and you know, that's it. He never gets mentioned or referenced again. So you have like the ending where they trap Michael in the basement and they start to blow up the house, and you got like Laurie and her daughter and her granddaughter looking down at her like, yeah, fuck you, Michael. And then they leave the house and the house burns down, and it just felt like it was one step removed from like the daughter going, or the granddaughter going, oh, where's Dad? And Laurie just turned around going, he's I'm sorry, he's dead, burning down with the house right now. Yeah, sorry. Save on the coffin cost, I guess. Like, it's just one of those weird things that just never gets mentioned. I understand it might stop the film a little bit if you stop and have that moment, but you know, maybe a little kind of credit for the guy where it's just like, yeah, your dad's dead. Like, oh no, he's dead. Yeah, come on, Michael's here. Like, something, anything. You know, it just felt like so thrown and rushed and just brushed under the carpet to the point where it felt like his character didn't even need to be in the movie at that point. Anyway, and maybe that could have worked, where like Laurie's daughter Judy Greer could have been like single, like her husband had long left her because she's still kind of so affected by that harsh upbringing she had by Laurie, where it's like, you know, I'm trying my best to have a normal life with my daughter, but you know, I'm still kind of dealing with like the post-traumatic stress of being Laurie Strode's daughter and my husband left me. Then we don't have that character to deal with at the end, where it's like he just gets killed and never mentioned again. That's a quibble. And yeah, I even liked the kind of the teenager stuff. That was kind of good. A great shot when Michael goes into a house, kills a woman with a hammer, gets a knife, walks out the house, goes out to the street, walks up to another house. We focus in on the knife in his hand. We get to the window. We see his face reflected in the window. He leaves. He goes around the house, comes back in, and kills a woman. Like, all in one shot. Fantastic stuff. So really, some really good cinematography in there, and the music by John Carpenter is great. I love the title sequence. But overall, you know, it is just a slasher film. You know, it's never going to be something I'm going to fully love and embrace. But I think as far as these films go, it's a pretty damn great one. I really enjoyed it. I love that we never saw Michael's face, even though his mask is off for well, at least half of the movie. They don't do that reveal where you see his face. We don't do that. That they're building up to him never saying anything, so we don't get this moment where he goes like, "Sorry." Like, we don't get that. I love that. I love that they kept that mystery, that intrigue, you know, kind of locked away. I think that was a really smart thing to do. He's a force of nature, and that shows in the film. And I think they just pulled off a great job, and it's a really good addition to the series. I assume they're going to do a sequel because it did gangbusters at the box office, and they're touting how it's like the biggest opening for a film ever that has a female lead over 55. So they're really pushing that and stuff, and as they should. You know, it's a great success, and it's a really damn good film. I enjoyed it very much. And that's it. Leave your thoughts down below if you've seen it, what you thought, if you're a Halloween fan, how it compares to the other films. I would like to go back and see the sequels at some point. But for me, this and the original are just a really nice 1-2 punch. I really like that story. But to others, maybe it's a bit of a sour note where you've really grown up with this continuation across those 6 or 7 films they did before the Rob Zombie reboot. So yeah, there we go. That's my thoughts on Halloween. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.